Welcome to Business Connection. I'm Liz Spencer. I have a wonderful guest in studio today. It's Jared Staver, and he's with the Staver Law Group, and you are a personal injury attorney.
That is correct.
Welcome. You know, I think when we hear personal injury, we don't know what that means. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
Sure. I help people that have been injured in various types of accidents. Could be a wide range of things that somebody is injured in, whether it's an automobile accident, it's kind of a standard or typical injury case you may hear about, or if somebody's injured on somebody else's property in like a slip and fall or something like that, all the way up to a complicated situation such as medical malpractice.
Well, when should we get you involved? How do we know when we need you?
Well, that's a good question. Typically, somebody is in an incident or an occurrence where they may be injured, and they find themselves perhaps with surmounting medical bills or be dealing with insurance adjusters, insurance companies, and things start to get a little bit problematic.
Okay.
So that's typically when somebody may find us. We recommend to people, if you've been injured as a result of somebody else's negligence, that you contact a lawyer right away.
Okay. And if someone is hurt in a car accident, say, and they call their insurance agency, then should they also be thinking about calling you at that time?
Well, yes, that'd be good. After an accident, let's say a standard automobile accident, a person does have a duty to notify their own insurance company to make sure that they have a record of the loss. But at that time, yes, it would be a good idea to also contact an attorney, especially if you've been injured. You do have a duty to talk to your own insurance company, but you don't necessarily have to give a statement to the other person's insurance company. And a lot of times after an accident, people think, well, if I just talk to the other person's insurance company, they'll make it all right. But you got to remember that the other person's insurance company is thinking of a way to pay you as little as possible for what their insured did, or hopefully maybe nothing. So you do have to be very cautious following an accident of what you say. And it is a good idea to engage an attorney as soon as possible to protect your rights in the case.
Well, and I often think that we think that our insurance company is there to protect our rights, and that's not the way it works.
Well, your own insurance company, there is a contractual relationship that where they do have to, if you have, for example, full coverage insurance, take care of you and your car. But again, if you think about it, the other person's insurance company is not there for you, and you don't really want to go it alone. You want to make sure and cover yourself and protect yourself, and that's where an attorney can come in and speak for you, essentially. Well,
I love the way you say you don't want to go it alone, because it's become more complicated, and
it is.
And I think oftentimes, you know, time and money well spent to have somebody advocate on your behalf in a very tricky situations. I'm not an insurance agency, I'm not an attorney, I'm just the injured party. So
correct.
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting thing. So if someone hires a lawyer, does that mean that they can go, say if it's an injury at work, can they go back to work, or can they do things like that? What is that all? Sometimes we hear that I'm injured, I can't work any longer because that's what my lawyer says.
Sure. Well, and it's not really up to the lawyer, obviously. It's up to the person and how bad their injury is, and more importantly, what that person's doctor or caregiver is saying to them. Are they able to work? Is it something that if they don't have a manual type job, are they able to, you know, go back and sit in a workplace and do a sedentary job? Or is it something that's such a great injury that the doctor doesn't want you to risk any additional harm to yourself? So that's more or less a decision to be made by the person with their doctor involved.
I think many people think it's an admission of that I'm no longer injured, but you heal. It doesn't mean that you hadn't had some harm done.
That's right. Yeah. And in today's workplace, a lot of our jobs are sitting at a computer and it's not necessarily lifting heavy things.
Right.
So you may, even with a broken arm or a broken leg, be able to continue working, but that certainly doesn't mean you're not in pain and not suffering with your injury.
Right. Well, and these things take a little while to resolve. There's lots of moving parts. How long does a typical case take?
Sure. Well, you know, following any type of incident that occurs where somebody's injured, obviously, after you hire an attorney, what we do is we begin gathering all the medical records and all the bills and letting the other side's insurance company know that we represent a party. And then in the meantime, we essentially just sit back and wait until the person makes a recovery. So in answer to your question, how long a personal injury case takes, it all depends on how extensive the injury is. If somebody has an accident and 3-4 months later they're all done with their medical treatment and they conclude, that time we try to gather up all the records and bills and try to, at that point, reach a settlement with the other person's insurance company, which sometimes could take anywhere from 30 to 90 days following the conclusion of somebody's medical treatment. However, if the case is not able to settle, and the case does then have to go into litigation because the other person's insurance is failing to offer what's right to the person or pay everything, we may have to file a lawsuit, in which case the case typically takes anywhere from about 18 months to 24 months until you go through the entire system of court and get to a jury trial.
How do you know when it's a case is, or injury or what's happened to you is worthy of hiring an attorney and going through all those steps?
Well, I think every case where somebody is injured as a result of someone else's negligence is worthy of getting an attorney and getting representation. Again, I go back to it's wise not to go these things alone. The insurance industry is, as you said, very complex, very complicated. And those insurance companies don't get to be billion-dollar companies for paying every claim and doing the right thing. So I think it's important for everybody to seek representation.
So you're seeking representation, and if these things take that long for something to go through, how does that person get through life during that time period? It's a very difficult thing to be out of work or having to wait.
It absolutely is, and that sometimes is an issue with our cases. Again, we as the lawyer encourage our clients, if they can, to go back to work and try to maintain the lifestyle that they had prior to the occurrence. But if it's such an injury that is so debilitating that the person cannot work, that's one of the elements of recovery that we try to go for once we're able to either settle the case or reach a jury trial. Typically, you want to try to get, in any personal injury case, all of your medical bills paid. There's also a category for what we call pain and suffering, category for what we call loss of normal life. And that basically means the person's inability to enjoy and carry on their daily activities as they used to. And then there's also for lost wages. If you do miss out for on your work for a long period of time, we do take that into consideration and either try to get that in your settlement or if there's a jury trial. And then finally, there's a category if you're injured, it's so permanently or you're disabled. We call that disability or disfigurement. It's also something we try to get money for, compensation for, at the end of any personal injury case.
Well, looking out for the whole picture there, what final advice would you give to someone who has been injured in an accident?
Well, following any accident, I think it's very important that you document it, whether it's an automobile accident where you notify the police, or if it's something that happens on somebody else's property. Talk to the manager, make an incident report. Take stock of what's going on around you. If it's a standard automobile accident, nowadays people with their cell phones take pictures. Get information from the other party. Find out the other party's name, their insurance company. Then obviously it's important to note this to your own insurance company of what may have happened. And then I would say at that point, if you are injured, seek medical attention and do contact an attorney. Don't delay. Make sure your rights are protected.
Awesome. Well, thanks for stopping by and filling us in on this world that we may not all know about enough, especially until we're in it. And then so it's nice to have a little bit of opportunity to meet someone like you now. So thanks for stopping by, Jared.
Thank you, Liz.
We wish you continued success. We'll be right back with more Business Connection.